validating the data. I do believe that that's a proper and genuine approach to going about any kind of project, whether it be it social development or even for commercial practice or whatever. But my real question is, these two are traditionally, in the industry, it's often called qualitative research and quantitative research. Right? And they are almost two different industries. And typically, these things exist at separate silos, even within organizations. Qualitative research is usually left to ethnographers and social science, and quantitative research is left to marketing and sort of financial decision making. In your experience, is there a way to bridge these two? Because that seems to be like the key to almost any kind of project success. So do you have examples, or do you have any understanding or insight into how this can be done, or whether there have been good examples of how that has been successfully achieved here in India?
Many people believe that research is of two kinds, qualitative and quantitative. I do not agree. All research is quantitative. That's what you should make. See, what starts as a quality, what starts as merely anecdotal, you have to find ways to convert into this kind. That's what the two examples I gave, Jenny Aker, and I can give you the full reference, and Robert Jensen, they made it. They came all the way, one came all the way to Kerala, the other went all the way to Niger. And they located the communities and the developmental initiatives, and then came up with a beautiful analytical study which they could publish in a very high impact journal like Quarterly Journal of Economics. Pretty difficult to get into, even for academic professors. So that is the way one should try and proceed. The problem largely lies with, one doesn't have all the skills. Sendil as a skill to go to villages, talk to people, mobilize these forces, and generate all kinds of things. But we may not have the academic brilliance that is required of an economist. Now this is where we should locate an economist who is interested in this kind of thing, bring him along, and then into a partnership and then work with them. Ethnographer, anthropology, sociologist, or whatever. But one of the major problems in India is the academics think that the NGOs are the Jolnawalas and one step lower, and the Jolnawalas or NGO walas think the academics are an ivory tower. And there's a kind of animosity, a kind of unwillingness to work together. I think as long as this remains, it will be pretty difficult to carry out such quantitative studies in India. But I think the ice is breaking. A lot of academics are interested in such queries, and they're ready to come forward to help. The great example I suggested was Abdul Qadir. He came all the way from New York. He was earning quite a bit there as a hedge fund manager and a financial analyst. He came to Bangladesh with hardly anything to hope for, and then met the right people, the bank, and he was persistent. He met the Grameen chair, and then they worked together and so on. So this kind of coming together, partnership, building partnerships. Even in the case of Sendil, they partnered with Qualcomm, Tata, Astute and so on to bring this mobile phone to fishermen. I don't think it is the best project in the world, but still something is there on the ground today, largely because they were willing to cooperate with them. The Tatas and Qualcomm never said you are only a lowly NGO. These people never said you are a big corporate making money and we are only social people. No, the willingness to throw away our prejudices and come and work together. Once it happens, this question of qualitative, quantitative will simply vanish. That's what I believe. I may be an idealist, but that's what I believe.
So, do we have any further quick questions?
The bandwidth available kind of thing, right? So where actually you can do even broadband on the mobile phone itself.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think like whatever the 6% or something you were saying is probably the broadband what we take at home, broadband at home kind of thing.
Right.
So it's what's basically a DSL connection kind of.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
so if you look at actually the broadband from, I mean broadband through mobility, mobile broadband kind of thing also if you include, I think that the percentage should be somewhere around 20-25% kind of thing. And things like, I don't know, like, which I want you to comment on is since we are getting some lot of this Android phones kind of thing, like where actually it's possibility of it coming to sub 8,000 or thing like the prices. So even like we will be seeing like more thing like whatever today we are seeing like 2,000, 2,500 phones with a lot of people, right? So that we'll get even the broadband also in the phone itself. So then like I feel that actually the percentage will be like 30-35% in a year or two kind of thing. Like, but if you include
Yep.
the mobile
Yep.
broadband.
So you're correct. The percentage I mentioned is broadband connections. I mean, so I'm talking about the Airtel, the BSNL, that kind of broadband. This percentage essentially is mentioned because we wanted to capture the difference between internet as such and the phone. Also, this percentage does not include the normal dial-up connections, which if you look at it honestly, there are quite a few of them still there. So the data essentially was shared to show the gap, and I think you're absolutely spot on that we would be reaching 30% if we include all those, Android, iPhones, all those things that we use to access internet. On to your second question, I would not like to be very specific on Android. I would like to reserve my remarks on voice and data. So whichever way, whichever ecosystem, whichever software is used, but there is a strong belief in the marketplace, with whom we interact regularly, is that data is really going to be the thing of the future, because voice has a certain limitation to it. You can go up to voice clarity. You can, how much clear voice can you need? But data is something which will keep going in demand, which will keep going higher and higher in demand. So if you look at it from the data perspective, 3G is mostly data. 4G is data. So suppose we have a 6G 10 years down the line. So even if you look at it logically, it's most likely going to be data at a completely different level. So recently I was talking to a friend who lives in California. He gets data speeds of 20 Mbps at his home. And I was looking at his face, I said, "You serious?" He said, "Yes." He said, "I get 20 Mbps at home with turbo," whatever turbo means. So we are talking about that kind of data usage in the next few years. So whichever the platform, Android, Nokia One, or any of these platforms, but data usage is something, which I'm very clear in my mind will really, really go up over time. And this may not necessarily be urban India. This could come a lot from the villages. So if you look at some of these applications, they are running on data. Very few of them are based on, simple SMSs, or at least very few of them will be based on simple SMSs in the future. So data is being used even in the rural sector pretty much now. The government is talking about fiber backbone to go for the extra last mile for data. So if you look at the overall ecosystem, it's very clear to any person in the field that, data is the thing which will go up in the future. And that's where I think, if you ask me, the future lies in mobile technology. So can we have a quick last one question? Because I think we are completely out of time.
Coming trend.
Yeah.
But if you see in India or in developing countries, the people are not, they're not literate. So they can't read data. So the more focus, I feel, will be voice and the video.
So video is data, right?
You can't say it's data. Video is voice plus images.
Yeah.
I mean, data,
But,
everything is
yeah.
data, absolute. Everything
Sure,
is data. I mean,
sure.
in bits, if you call it in computer, everything is data.
Right.